Welcome to the Show Me the Shift podcast with Coach Lenora, certified life coach, HR certified professional, international best-selling author, and creator of the Victorious Movement, a members-only community where she coaches her members from stuck to action and from scarcity to abundance in areas of goal setting and monetization online. The Show Me the Shift podcast was created to encourage people to action in the areas of their career, purpose, and how everyday people can generate an income by being an affiliate of other people's products. Here's our host, Coach Lenora.
Hello, everyone. There we go. Hi, how is everybody? I don't know what was going on. My mouse did not want to work today. So I hope everybody is doing well and having a wonderful Friday thus far. It is a beautiful day so far. So we will see what else unfolds. And a lot of people just happy the weekend is here. So just have to get through Friday and everything's going to be amazing, right? And so today we're talking about purpose. And it's kind of poignant because there are so many people who look forward to Friday and dread Monday. And that leads me to believe that they're probably not living in their purpose. They're living for the check. They're living for, the ability to pay their bills, but they may not be living in alignment with their purpose. And sometimes people feel like it's very hard to do, right? It's very hard to focus on it or put some action behind it. You're maybe sometimes too exhausted after working all day that you don't have the energy to be able to do that. And what I would kind of challenge you with is that now more than ever is an amazing time to try to put processes in place so that your passions can really get more focused, mainly because of the fact that there's so much technology out here. There's so many ways that you can work smarter and not harder towards what it is that you've been called to do. And there's so many people out here waiting for you to step into it because they are looking for the answer and you have it. Like they have problems that they want to solve and you have that answer for them. And until you step into doing what you're called to do to support them and help them, either they're going to get the answers from somebody else and that person's really not going to meet the need that they have, or they're going to wait until they get that answer from you. And the longer that we take to step into what we've been called to do, the longer it's going to hinder them from getting the answers that they need. So sometimes it's a way of just taking the focus off of you and putting it onto who are you called to serve. And so on that note, today, what we're going to talk about really is about purpose from a perspective of what are some things that hold us back from being able to pursue our purpose. And so kind of going into the weekend, knowing that, hey, maybe there's more that I'm called to do. And if I focus on some of these things that I feel like may be holding me back, and then kind of putting some action behind it to make sure that it doesn't hold me back going forward, then that can be a good thing for us, right? And so, and it can help us, again, to serve those that we're called to serve. So first and foremost, and this is probably the biggest one that most people deal with, and I think today we'll probably just talk about three things. We'll pick up some more next week, but fear of failure. Fear of failure is huge for a lot of people. When it comes to that, people are just scared about like starting something new, putting processes in place, worried that it's not going to work out, worried that, hey, if I fail, that means I'm a failure. And that is not the case. Failing is actually a part of growing. It's a part of learning. And the big thing is what do you learn from any mistakes or failures that happen? It's not that you're a failure. It's just that failure is a part of the process. Every single thing that you've ever wanted to do in your life didn't always come in the blink of an eye. There have been things like riding a bicycle. You're going to fall a few times. And then you can either give up, or you can say, oh, I'm a failure at riding a bike. Or you can say, okay, I know this is a part of the process, so let me go ahead and hop back on it again and hop back on it again. Same with walking as babies. They don't just say, well, I failed 5 times, so I'm never going to walk. Instead, babies are, they don't know any better. So they're like, okay, they don't have that cognitive sense of saying, you know what, because of this, I am going to stop. I'm going to figure out that I'm a failure and I'm just not going to move forward, and you get in your own head. Well, babies don't have that ability. They're just going to keep trying and trying. They see that it's possible. They know that it can be done, and they're seeing everybody else do it. So they're like, you know what? I'm just going to continue on this course until I do it. And that's the difference, right? That's the difference of things getting into our own mind and making us feel as though we want to hinder ourselves, when in actuality, we should be able to go ahead, move forward, and just wipe our shoulders off, act like nothing happened, and keep it moving. And that is really powerful when you think about it, how we do let our own minds, not even the outside voices often, but our own voice slow us down and stop us from what it is that we know we're called to do. So we have to figure out how to redefine failure and not see it as such a big blockage or a big hindrance. We need to realize that it's a step in success. Like when you think about that saying that Michael Jordan had of all the missed shots that he had, and how many times when it was at the buzzer that he was the one who threw the game-winning shot and didn't make it. But yet he kept trying and kept trying and kept doing and kept doing and kept training. And then that's why he is now seen as a success, is because of all the missed shots, because of all the failure, because of all that pressure that he put on himself to make himself a better person. And so to get to success, you have to sometimes and often get through the failure and learn from the mistakes that you've made, learn from the failure that you had, and say, okay, now this is how I can move forward. Now these are the processes that I can put in place. And sometimes it's all about too taking smaller steps, because we sometimes feel as though we are trying to take on such a monumental task, but maybe it's just doing one small thing. Maybe it's one thing today and it's two things tomorrow or next week, but not feeling as though we have to, okay, I have to, if I'm trying to start my business, I have to get my business license. I have to talk to an attorney. I have to figure out the code. I have to do this. I have to do that all within this week. Like maybe it's not that serious. Maybe it is more of, let's just take a step. What's the first step? Maybe let me look into if I'm opening a LLC or a corporation, like looking into that, figuring that part out, and then going from there. Or maybe if it's just that you want to do something to help people, then, okay, do I start with volunteering, making sure that this is the area in which I want to support people in this way, and take that step versus stepping out and becoming the business owner to start. So just figuring out how you can maybe take some smaller steps and test before you actually jump in with both feet, if you feel like the fear of failure is what's holding you back. Now, there's other people who feel like failure, what's that? Like, I'm going in guns blazing, I'm excited and gung ho, and that's amazing too. So you just have to figure out how you feel about what it is that you're trying to pursue and what the limitations could be that you're telling yourself that are holding you back. And, you have to kind of almost, if you want to look at it from a different perspective as well, because I already talked about looking at it where you take yourself out of the equation and the people that you're trying to serve, but also, what if you truly believed that failing was not even going to be a part of the equation? Like it wasn't even going to be an option. Like, I know as soon as I step into this, there will be success at the end of my process, regardless of the bumps that I have and the hurdles and, what might look like a failure. But I know at the end of this process, I'm going to be successful. So what would that look like if you just took your eyes off of the immediate, what's in front right now, and focused on the long term and how that would look, and knowing that that nothing is going to stop that vision that you have from becoming a reality? Then would that change your perspective about the fear that you go through all of the ebbs and flows? So keeping that in mind as well as we move to the next one, which is self-doubt and imposter syndrome. A lot of people have imposter syndrome. I was just actually talking to somebody about that yesterday, and how imposter syndrome can rear its ugly head and make you feel as though you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not enough, you're too old, maybe you're too young, you're not qualified. All of these different things that can go into your head about what people might think, how people might feel about you, what people might say about you, and that you are kind of internally taking all of these perceptions that aren't even real into account so that that way you are just blocking yourself. You're slowing yourself down. You're getting yourself into a stuck situation. And you may feel as though, okay, I've been overlooked in the past. I've been underpaid in the past. I've had situations happen where people have underestimated me in the past. And so based on that, I just feel as though I'm not enough. And what I would challenge you to do is to instead focus on when are those situations and times where you might have felt that imposter syndrome show up, but you showed up. And because you showed up, everything ended up working out. Everything went according to plan and exactly as it should have. And those voices that were in your head telling you, no, you can't, no, you shouldn't, this can't be done, weren't even real, didn't even come to pass. And that's what you'll often find is that those things that you tell yourself, it's not even going to happen. So we can't focus on what we don't know to be true. Instead, we can focus on what we do know to be true, which is you are enough, you know your stuff, and you can get this information out to the masses, and people who are supposed to be a part of your journey, a part of your tribe, are going to find out about it, appreciate you for it, share your information with others and tell you how amazing, oh, this was like what you shared with me was exactly what I was looking for in the time in which I needed it. And that will help you also to build your belief and step past that imposter syndrome that you very well may feel. And so you have to realize you don't need more knowledge. You don't need more credentials. You just need that courage to show up and to do exactly what you're called to do as your authentic self. And that's important too, being your authentic self. You don't want to build anything on preconceived notion of how people think you are, or on like, oh, I have to be perfect. I can't say, I can't show up without a full face of makeup. I can't show up without, an amazing outfit. I can't. Those are things we have to just leave alone. If it's not who you authentically are, and if you're authentically someone whose hair is a mess and, is just pulled up on top of your head and you're just sharing information, well, do that so that people can see the authentic you. Now, if there's going to be times where you're going to look dressier and you're going to be speaking in an engagement and you're going to look like yourself, but for the most part, I mean, look at Alex Hermosi, for example. Now, that's a gentleman who, for people who don't know, he is someone who's like a guru when it comes to building businesses and brands and things of that nature. He has books. He's been on stages. He started off with a gym and just built and built and built. Well, he speaks with a nose strip on. 90% of the videos that you'll see with him, he has a nose strip on to open up his nasal passages. So I'm like, he's made millions and millions of dollars. I'm surprised he hasn't just done nasal surgery, but really, I think it's his brand now that people just expect him to show up, even if he's on a stage, even if he's on a podcast, even if he's whatever he's doing, he's going to show up with this strip over his nose. And that's part of his brand. Now, you would think that someone would say, oh, take that off, don't go out. That's unprofessional. Don't do that. But if that's who his authentic self is, then that's how he's showing up. So he's showing up as himself, and people appreciate that and know him for that, which is amazing as well. So thank you for the like, by the way. And so those are just some things. I feel as though I'm running out of time a little bit, but we're going to get to one more. So the next one we're going to talk about. So we've talked about not having having that feeling of fear. And not letting fear hold you back. First and foremost, fear of failure. Failure is not something that we need to put into the equation. We need to step up and show up. We also need to put away any self-doubt or imposter syndrome that we have. We need to realize that, look, we can move forward and past this. We are enough. We have all the things that we need in our tool belt in order for us to succeed. We just need to share it, to say it, and again, to show up. That's the important thing. And then lastly, we'll talk about people who say, well, I don't have the time to focus on what is my purpose. I don't have the ability to really give it my time. And that, I would say, how bad do you want it? Like, how bad do you want it? Yes, you might be stretched between work and family, your home life, and maybe, school or, whatever is going on outside of that. You're getting to the gym, you're doing whatever, you have to do to live your life. However, if your dreams are always going to fall to the bottom of that list, then there's never going to be a time for you to step into what you've been called to do. Now, there's some people who feel as though I'm not called to do anything. I'm called to watch Netflix every night. That's what I'm called to do. Okay, well, then if you're not called, if you feel as though, because I truly believe everybody is called to do something, but God gives us free will where we can decide if we put action behind that thing or not. And so based on that, if you feel as though, well, I'm not called to do anything and I'm okay with sitting here watching Netflix every night, so be it. But if you are that person who has the quiet whisper, who hears in the back of your head, like, you should be doing this. You're supposed to do X, Y, and Z. You've been called to do blah, 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 whatever that thing is. You're the one that I'm talking to. You're the person that I want to just know that, yes, you might feel as though you don't have the time, you don't have the energy, but if not now, when? When will you have that time? When will you have that energy to put processes in place so that you can live the life that you're called to live, so that you can serve the people that you've been called to serve? Even if it means to block out, let's say 15 minutes in any given day, whether it's when you wake up in the morning, after you get home from work, during your lunch break, before you go to bed, but just taking 15 minutes to kind of focus on your dream, just to think about it. And as you think about it, what you'll find is that you're going to start getting some inspired thoughts about it. And as you get those inspired thoughts about it, then what do you do with that? So I would say, even when you're taking a moment to think about it, have a notebook and pen ready, like right handy and nearby. Now, is it going to happen the first time or the second time you do it? Maybe not. But eventually you're going to realize, like, because I'm focused on this dream of mine and what that would look like in my life, all of a sudden I'm starting to realize that, oh, these are some things that I can do. These are some processes that I can put into place, or this is some extra time that I'm willing to now find to make it work, so that way I can focus on being the person that I know I'm supposed to be. So, it could also involve things like listening to motivational audiobooks or seminars, or listening to podcasts that are inspiring to you and sharing information that help you as you go. And those are things that you can do throughout your day. If you're just sitting at your desk and you have your earphones on, are you listening to music and the songs that you know the words to over and over and over and over and over again? Or are you like, no, I need to pour into myself. I need to feed myself the information that I need, because this is what's going to take me from being a person who's always watching everybody else fulfill their dreams and work towards what it is that they want in their life. And I can start doing that for myself. I can start figuring out, how do I put processes in place so I'm no longer an observer of people who are living out their dreams, but I can become that person myself. And so just figuring out how to make that a reality for you. So in a way, we all get the same amount of time every single day, whether it's you, whether it's me, whether it's Oprah, whoever it is, everybody gets the same amount of time. It's all about, how do we utilize what we have as our resources to make us use that time as wisely as possible. Now, there are going to be people like when I say Oprah, she's going to be able to have a staff, a team, a group of people who can do things for her, but she has to implement, like tell them what's in her head, what's in her mind, what she wants to have done for them to run out and do that, right? And everybody doesn't have that ability, granted. However, we do have the ability to say, of the time that I have, of the 24 hours that I have, for the stage that I am in my life right now, what can I carve out so that way I'm focused on what I need to focus on for me, my future, and what it is that I know I should be doing. Like, plain and simple, what is that? Is it 15 minutes? Is it 30 minutes? Is it 2 hours? Is it 5 hours? I remember, before leaving corporate America, I would come home and then spend the next 4 or 5 hours putting processes into place because that's how important it was to me. Now, for somebody else, it might not be. I don't really cut on the TV as much anymore because of the fact that I'm focused on what it is that I need to do for me. Where other people might say, oh, I'm on vacation, I'm watching TV, 40 hours. The whole time I would have been at work, I'm watching TV, I'm vegging out, I'm relaxing. So it all depends on what's important to you. So those are the things that we just need to figure out for ourselves. And again, what I said in the very beginning is, how bad do we want it? How bad do we want what we feel in our spirit is what we're called to do and how we're called to serve others. And once we can figure that out, then we can figure out what the next step is from there and the next step from there. We don't have to, as the Martin Luther King, quote goes, we don't have to see the whole staircase. All we need to do is see the first step. And then the next step will unfold after that. And the next step will unfold after that. So we just have to take that step and we'll be okay. So on that note, that is it for Friday's Show Me the Shift podcast. So I'm really excited to kind of go down this journey of purpose and those things that hold people back, because I do feel like it speaks and resonates with so many people. Because again, like I said, there are people who today are like, oh my God, thank God it's Friday. I'm so excited. I got the weekend. You're not in your purpose. You're not in your purpose if you're living for the weekend. And if your or your Sunday, your afternoon, you're like, oh, all right, let me get my mind right so that I can get to work on Monday and get through this next week. That should be a blaring sign. It's not to say you hate your job. It's not to say that you hate what you do, but it definitely is not in alignment with what you are called to do. So on that note, everybody, I am going to go ahead and, as I always do, share information about my wonderful Victorious Movement community. For anybody that is interested, it is a great way for people to be able to find out more about how to work through your mindset when it comes to different things like what we talked about today: fear, imposter syndrome, procrastination, not going through and doing what you need to do from a consistency. We talked about discovering your purpose. How do you find your purpose and what it is? Today's lesson came from that. And then also, how do you set goals? What are your intentions? How do you keep your goals in motion so that way you can move yourself to your next level? And a bunch of other things that you see here that I pour into this community. So I hope everybody has an amazing weekend. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and we'll talk on Monday in regards to affiliate marketing, which is being an affiliate of other people's products. Have a great day, everybody.